She's been dead for 10 years. So tell me, who's standing in that window? The mansion on Hollow Pine Lane stood silent that night. The kind of silence that hums in your ears and presses against your chest. Police tape fluttered weakly against the wind as camera flashes painted the old stone walls in bursts of cold light. Inside, the air smelled like iron and candle wax. 3 bodies were carried out under white sheets, and somewhere beyond the chaos, the only person missing was the housekeeper, Marlene Voss. No one really noticed her when she worked there. She moved through that house like a ghost. Quiet steps, soft voice, polite smile. For 15 years, she was part of the furniture. She cooked, cleaned, and cared for the Wright family as if they were her own. To the neighbors, she was the lady in gray, always seen walking to the bus stop before sunrise and returning after dark. Never complained, never caused trouble, just existed. But when the police arrived that night, there were no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no fingerprints that didn't belong. It was as if the killer had a key and knew exactly where everything was. Detective Ryan Hale was the first on scene. He'd seen plenty of brutal crimes, but something about this one felt wrong. The Wrights weren't ordinary victims. Samuel Wright was a prominent defense attorney. His wife, Helen, ran a charity for victims of domestic abuse. Their teenage son, Caleb, was quiet, polite, and known for helping Marlene with chores. Perfect family, at least from the outside. Ryan walked through the rooms, slowly taking in the details. No struggle in the kitchen, no forced drawers or open safes. But the living room told a story of silence interrupted. A cup of tea still sat warm on the coffee table. 3 chairs neatly arranged. And on the floor between them, a trail of blood leading toward the servants' quarters. When they reached Marlene's small room, the door was ajar. Everything was spotless, almost painfully neat. Bed made tight, shoes lined perfectly, and a small wooden chest sitting in the corner. Inside, they found old photographs, all of the Wright family, and dozens of journals stacked by year. Every page filled with her handwriting. The entries started normally: grocery lists, recipes, notes about laundry and errands. But as Ryan read further, the tone changed. The writing became obsessive. She described conversations that never happened, arguments that weren't real. Helen smiled at me today. I think she remembers. He looked at me differently this time. The boy knows. Ryan shut the journal, feeling that chill that only comes when you realize you're not reading a diary anymore. You're reading a confession of a mind unraveling. The next morning, the autopsy revealed something even stranger. None of the victims had defensive wounds. Each had been poisoned. The tea on the table tested positive for a rare compound used decades ago in anesthesia, nearly undetectable. Whoever did it knew medicine, or at least had access to it. Ryan ordered a full background check on Marlene Voss. And that's when the story cracked open. She'd been born in New York under a different name, Marla Voskovich. Her nursing license had been revoked 20 years earlier after a patient under her care died mysteriously during surgery. She vanished after that. No record, no family, nothing. Until she appeared in the Wrights' employment records 5 years later. When the Wrights hired her, they thought she was just a quiet woman looking for work. They never knew they'd invited a ghost into their home. As Ryan read more of her journals, he noticed something recurring. The way she wrote about Samuel Wright. At first, admiration, then obsession, "He doesn't see me yet," she wrote, "but he will. He will understand that I was always the one protecting him." In later entries, she began referring to Helen as the obstacle. She described Helen's routines, her fears, the way she prayed late at night. "She pretends to be kind, but she hides poison in her words," Marlene wrote. "I can fix that." Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that she'd been planning this for years. Each entry read like rehearsal notes for something inevitable. Then they found the last journal, dated the day before the murders. The handwriting was shaky, but the message was clear. "Tomorrow, they will see the truth. Tomorrow, I become part of them forever." A week later, an anonymous tip came in. A woman matching Marlene's description had been seen in a small coastal town 200 miles away, working in a diner under another name. Ryan drove there himself. The place was quiet, filled with the smell of grease and sea salt. Behind the counter stood a woman in her 50s wearing a gray uniform and a soft, practiced smile. "Coffee?" she asked. Her voice was calm. "Familiar?" Ryan nodded, studying her closely. Same eyes, same way of tucking hair behind her ear. But when he said her name, Marlene, she didn't flinch. She simply poured the coffee, smiled faintly, and said, "You've got the wrong person." He left, but something didn't sit right. Later that night, he called the local police to check her prints. But before they arrived, she was gone. The diner's night manager said she'd left mid-shift, claiming she wasn't feeling well. She never came back. Back in the city, Ryan reopened the box of journals, hoping for some clue. Tucked between 2 pages was a photo he hadn't noticed before. A picture of young Caleb Wright standing beside Marlene, smiling. On the back, in her handwriting, "He called me mother today." That sentence haunted him. Months passed. The house on Hollow Pine was sold, the case went cold, and life moved on. But then something strange happened. The new owners began reporting odd occurrences. Furniture slightly moved, teacups arranged on the table every morning, even though no one had set them there. One morning, they found a note left on the counter in looping handwriting. "Welcome home." The police searched the property again, this time focusing on the basement. Behind a false wall, they discovered a hidden room, small, windowless, with a bed, a lamp, and shelves filled with labeled jars. Inside the jars were locks of hair, bits of jewelry, old letters, and family photographs of the Wrights, all marked with dates in strange annotations. One label read, "Love Preserved." DNA testing confirmed the hair samples matched the Wright family. But the most chilling part, one jar contained hair that wasn't theirs. It belonged to Marlene herself. Ryan stood in that room, staring at the neat rows of glass jars. He could almost feel her presence there, methodical, quiet, unseen, like she'd built herself into the very foundation of the house. A few days later, a letter arrived at the precinct. No return address. Inside, a single photograph of the Wright mansion taken from the woods and written on the back, "You can't clean away the past, detective. It remembers you." The handwriting matched Marlene's perfectly. No one's seen her since. Some say she drowned herself. Others think she still works somewhere under another name, in another house, folding sheets and dusting rooms that aren't hers. But there are rumors from towns across the state of a quiet woman who moves from family to family, always kind, always calm, until one night everything goes silent again. Maybe she's still looking for the family she lost, or maybe she's building a new one house at a time. And sometimes, when the light hits just right in an old house and the teacup on the table is still warm, you can almost smell the faint trace of her perfume and hear her whisper, "It's clean now. Everything's clean."